What happens during an out-of-body experience if you can't get back into your body? Can you get stuck somewhere? What about sleep paralysis? And what if you see something frightening while you're out of body? These are some of the biggest fears people have about out-of-body experiences. So today, we are going to talk about them. Hi, welcome back to the Astral Gateway podcast. I'm Nurit Weiss-Davicioni. In the previous episode, I talked about meeting spirit guides in the astral. If you haven't listened to that episode yet, I recommend going back to it. I share some of my own experiences meeting guides and talk about the different ways these encounters can happen. But today, we're looking at something that comes up again and again when people are interested in astral projection and lucid dreaming. And that is fear. And I completely understand why fear comes up. When you're considering an experience that can feel so different from ordinary waking consciousness, it's natural to have questions. What is going to happen? Will I be able to come back? What if I see something I don't understand? And these questions can sometimes become so frightening that people don't even allow themselves to explore the experience. Okay, so let's talk about that. You might be excited about the idea of having an out-of-body experience or exploring a lucid dream or meeting guides and having experiences that go beyond ordinary waking consciousness. But then at some point, the questions start. What if I can't get back into my body? What if I get stuck? And if I see something frightening, what if I experience sleep paralysis? What if something happens and I can't wake up? And these fears can become so strong that they stop people from even allowing themselves to explore. So I want to talk about that today because fear is probably one of the biggest things that holds people back. And I want to start by saying that fear itself doesn't necessarily mean something is wrong. A lot of the time, fear is simply your mind reacting to something unfamiliar. Your brain likes things it understands. It likes predictability, it likes knowing what is happening and what is going to happen next. So when you begin experiencing vibrations, unusual sensations, sleep paralysis, lucid dreams, or what feels like consciousness separating from the physical body, your mind may immediately go, wait a minute, what is happening? What's going on? And that reaction can be very strong. But feeling fear doesn't automatically mean you're in danger, right? So sometimes it simply means you're experiencing something you haven't learned or understand yet. I've experienced fear during these kinds of experiences myself. I think it's important to say that because people sometimes imagine that if you explore astral projection, you're supposed to be completely fearless. I don't think it's realistic. Fear can definitely happen. The question is what you do with it. Do you immediately interpret the fear as proof that something dangerous is happening? Or can you pause and say, okay, I'm feeling fear. What is actually happening right now? Because those are two different things. And this is where I think surrender becomes so important. When you're trying to control every single part of the experience, fear can become much stronger. You're monitoring every sensation, like, is it normal? What's happening now? Can I stop this? Can I go back? And the more you struggle against the experience, the more tension you create. Sometimes the thing that allows the experience to unfold is simply relaxing into it. That doesn't mean forcing yourself to continue when you just don't want to. You can always bring your attention back to your physical body. You can wake yourself up. You can stop practicing. You have more control than you may realize. And this brings me to one of the most common questions people ask me. What if I can't get back into my body? Well, my view is that you are not going to get permanently stuck outside your body. Your body is where your awareness is normally connected, and the connection between your consciousness and your physical body isn't something you accidentally lose forever because you had an astral experience. In fact, in my own experience, the intention to return is enough. You can simply think about your body. You can focus on your physical body. You can think, I want to wake up now, and then you return. Sometimes you might feel like you're trying to wake up and you're still in the experience. Sometimes you may feel temporarily unable to move, especially if you're experiencing sleep paralysis. But that doesn't mean you're trapped. Eventually, your body wakes up. And I think a lot of the fear comes from the fact that the experience can feel so incredibly real. When you're in it, it can feel like, this is completely real. What if I can't get out? But the intensity of the experience doesn't mean that you're permanently trapped in it. Like, think about dreams, okay? A dream can feel completely real while you're in it, right? You can feel emotions, fear, excitement, and even physical sensations, but eventually you wake up. Now, the same applies here. You are not abandoning your body and leaving it behind. You are having an experience of consciousness. Now, sleep paralysis is another huge fear. And I completely understand why. Sleep paralysis can be terrifying if you don't understand what is happening. You may wake up and be unable to move. You might hear sounds. You might see things. You might feel a presence in the room. And because your body is still in that strange state between sleep and waking, the experience can feel incredibly real. This is where I think understanding changes everything. When you don't know what sleep paralysis is, your mind can immediately go to the worst possible explanation. Something is attacking me. Someone is in the room. Something is holding me down. But when you understand that sleep paralysis is a state where your awareness becomes conscious before your body has fully come out of the sleep state, you can begin to see the experience differently. The sensations can still be intense, yeah. I'm not saying just don't be scared. If you are in that state and you suddenly feel something or see something frightening, of course your body can react with fear, but you can learn to recognize what is happening. And for me, sleep paralysis has also been connected with out-of-body experiences. The vibrations, the strange sensations, the feeling of being awake while the body is still asleep. This can become a doorway into an experience rather than something you have to panic about. Again, you don't have to do anything with it really. You can simply wake yourself up. But if you want to explore it, understanding the state can make a huge difference. Another question people ask is, what if I see a demon or a dark entity? And this is where my personal perspective comes in. I know people have very different beliefs about this. Some people believe that negative entities are external beings that can attach themselves to us or attack us. I really don't see it this way. In my experience, what we give energy to can take form within our experience. Fear is incredibly powerful. If you believe something is there to harm you, your mind can create an experience that reflects that fear. You may see a shadowy figure, you may feel presence, you may encounter something that seems threatening. And I'm not saying that the experience isn't real to you in that moment. It can feel completely real, but I don't believe that every frightening figure we encounter is an actual external being trying to hurt us. Sometimes these experiences can reflect our fears, our wounds, our unresolved emotions, or things that we haven't fully processed. The mind can give those things a form. And this is why I personally don't spend my energy fighting dark entities or trying to remove them. I don't work with what I consider dark energy. I focus on light, clarity, healing, guides, and energies that align with what I feel is good. Because where I put my attention matters. If I'm constantly looking for something dark, constantly expecting something negative to appear, constantly giving in to fear and giving it attention, then I'm giving that experience more energy. My personal belief is that fear wants form, and awareness can dissolve it. So if you encounter something frightening, you don't necessarily have to fight it. You can just pause, you can become aware, and you can ask yourself, what is this showing me? Or even simply, I don't choose to engage with this. You can turn your attention somewhere else. You can focus on your body. You can focus on your heart. You can wake up. You can change the experience. You choose. And this brings me to something important. You are not powerless. I think sometimes people enter these experiences with the belief that everything that happens is completely outside their control. And that can make fear much worse. But you have choices. You can set an intention before you sleep. You can decide what kind of experience you want to have. You can focus on something positive. You can call on a guide if that's part of your belief system. You can return your attention to your body. You can wake yourself up. You can choose not to engage with something that feels frightening, and the more experiences you have, the more confidence you tend to develop. The first time you experience something unfamiliar, it can be overwhelming. Then the next time you recognize it, then you think, oh, I know what this is, and that changes everything. The fear begins to lose its grip. Now, I don't think we need to pretend that every experience is going to be beautiful and peaceful. Sometimes experiences can be kind of strange. Sometimes they can be uncomfortable. And sometimes you can encounter something that makes you question what you're seeing. But I don't think the answer is to immediately assume the worst. Fear tends to fill in the blanks. If you don't know what something is, your mind may create the most frightening explanation possible. So before you decide that something is dangerous, take a breath. Ask yourself, what is actually happening? And this is something you can practice even before you ever had an astral projection or a lucid dream. When you feel fear, don't immediately run from it mentally. Notice it. Say, okay, I'm scared. Where do I feel that in my body? What am I imagining? What am I afraid is going to happen? Sometimes when you look at the fear directly, you realize that a lot of it is connected to the unknown. You don't actually know that something bad is going to happen, right? You're imagining that it might. And there's a big difference between feeling fear and having evidence that you're in danger. I also think it's important to be honest about something. You should never feel that you have to continue an experience just to prove that you're brave. If you're uncomfortable, you can stop. Okay, I've said it before. If you don't want to continue, you don't have to. You can bring yourself back at any time, okay? You can wake up. You're in control. You can take a break. There is no prize or anything for forcing yourself through fear. But at the same time, I wouldn't allow fear alone to decide what is possible for you, because fear can become a habit. You have one unusual experience, you become frightened, and then your mind starts expecting fear the next time. And suddenly you're afraid of being afraid. That's when it can really start holding you back. So, how do you work with fear? For me, breathing is one of the simplest things. Slow down, take a deep breath. Remind yourself that you're here. You can also use visualization. Some people like to imagine themselves surrounded by light. Personally, I think the most important part is the feeling behind it. If imagining light makes you feel safe and calm, then use it. You can also repeat something simple to yourself. I am safe. I can return whenever I choose. I don't need to panic. You don't have to use complicated words. Sometimes a simple reminder is enough. And if fear becomes very strong during an experience, bring your attention back to your body. Feel your physical body, feel your breathing, feel the bed beneath you. That can help ground your awareness. And then afterward, take some time to think about what happened. Write it down. Ask yourself what you were feeling. What were you afraid of? What did you expect to happen? Did it actually happen? Sometimes we learn a lot about ourselves by looking at the fear after the experience is over, because fear can show us where we are holding on, where we don't trust ourselves, where we feel we need complete control. And sometimes moving through that fear can become part of our own personal growth. I'm not saying you have to believe that every frightening experience is a message from the universe. Sometimes fear is simply fear, but sometimes it can show us something about ourselves, and that can be worth exploring. One thing I want to say very clearly is that you don't have to believe every scary story you hear about astral projection. There are a lot of stories online about people being attacked, trapped, possessed, or encountering terrifying beings. And if you consume enough of that content, you can begin to expect it. You can plant the idea in your own mind before you've even had your own experiences. Then, when something unusual happens, your mind reaches for the explanation it already knows. So just be careful about what you feed your imagination. Your imagination is powerful, and that can be a beautiful thing. But if you constantly fill it with fear, your experiences may begin to reflect that fear. I personally choose to focus on what I want to experience. I focus on connection, insight, healing, guidance, exploration, and the possibility of discovering something new about consciousness and about myself. That doesn't mean I believe nothing unusual or unexpected can ever happen. It means I choose where I place my attention, and I think that choice matters. Fear is natural. You don't have to shame yourself for feeling it. You don't have to pretend you're completely fearless, but you also don't have to hand all your power over to it. You can feel fear and still continue. You can feel fear and decide to stop. You can feel fear and simply observe it. The important thing is that the fear doesn't automatically get to make every decision for you. And sometimes what is waiting on the other side of that fear is something really meaningful, a deeper understanding of yourself, a new perspective, a healing experience, a connection with something that changes the way you see your life, or simply the realization that you are capable of experiencing much more than you thought. So, if you're afraid of astral projection, lucid dreaming, vibrations, or sleep paralysis, start with understanding. Learn what you can. Get familiar with the sensation. Practice relaxation. Don't rush. And don't create unnecessary fear by constantly imagining the worst thing that could happen. You are more capable than you may realize. And you don't have to force yourself into anything. Let your experiences unfold naturally. Trust yourself. And remember that you always have the option to return your attention to your physical body and wake up. For me, fear is something to move through, not something to fight. Sometimes it's simply the mind saying, I don't know what this is yet. And once you learn what it is, the fear can change. The unknown becomes familiar. The unfamiliar becomes something you recognize, and then you have a little more freedom. So breathe, relax. Don't give your fear more power than it deserves. And if you find yourself standing at the edge of something new, ask yourself, am I actually in danger? Or am I simply afraid because I haven't experienced this before? Sometimes that question alone can change everything. So, if fear has been holding you back from having an out-of-body experience, I really hope this episode helped answer some of the questions you may have had. If you enjoy this episode, follow the podcast so you don't miss the next one. And if you have a moment to leave a rating or a review, I really appreciate it. It helps other people find the podcast. I'd also love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced fear during an out-of-body experience or sleep paralysis? Or is there something you're worried might happen? Leave a comment and let me know. I always enjoy hearing about your experiences and the questions that come up for you. And if you want to dive deeper into astral projection, lucid dreaming, and consciousness exploration, my book, Beyond the Edge, Journeys in the Astral and Dream Worlds, goes much deeper into these subjects. I'll leave all the links in the description. You're also very welcome to join my Astral Gateway Facebook community, where you can connect with other people who are interested in these experiences and share your own journey. I'll leave the link in the description. Okay, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you in the next episode.